Welcome back to Death Toll Racing. Big video today. This is first start of the Safari Wagon, that Gen 5 LT motor. It's a 2017 5.3 out of a 1500 Silverado or a Tahoe Suburban, that type of thing. They're direct injection motors, a little different, those things, but they sound really, really cool, and they're definitely worth looking into if you're thinking about doing a motor swap. So stay tuned, check it out. This is a Turbo 350 manual valve body. It has power steering and stuff added to it, which you do have to add to those, unfortunately. So it's ICT billet, brackets, and a Corvette C5 pump, then Hydroboost, PSC steering stuff. And that about sums up everything we've done. 2.5-inch exhaust with 2-chamber mufflers, no cats. It's a 65, we don't require those here yet. On older things like that, repowered stuff. I did nothing but improve the emissions on an old car like that. So anyway, stay tuned, check it out. I'll be back with you at the end, and we'll go over some of the stuff that was haunting us during the video. What's up, guys? I'm going to start off this episode where I was filling everything up, and then I kind of wanted to show you a little bit of a shop hack. If you don't have one of these, this is just a press stone. This is something you just buy. It's for filling radiators. They have all sorts of adapters for different radiator caps. It just makes it really, really nice because you can leave them on the cars that burp real bad. You can leave them in there while you're starting it, so that you can have it, keep filling it and let it draw down, and it stays in that funnel. Then it comes with the plug. The shop hack, though, is adding that hose. That hose doesn't come with it, but that is something I do, and it keeps it from glugging real bad while you're pouring the fluid in. And it also helps the air get out of the system, and that's all that is. So you just put it down just far enough so that it's in the top of the radiator and not in the middle of the funnel part. Okay, here goes nothing. Maybe something.
Let's suck that down quick.
I hear it leaking. Start number 2. Okay.
At first,
Okay, I got a leak. Oh, apparently I never tightened the lines on the fucking cylinder. All right, so there's that pump I was filling up earlier with the ATF. It looks like a weed sprayer, but it's not a weed sprayer. It is, when you're pumping, it's more like a gear oil pump type pump. You're just directly moving the fluid. That's why I'm kind of going slow, so it doesn't come out too fast. Really good pump, though. I think I'm going to get a few of them so I can have different fluids in different ones. All right, ready?
okay. Try this again.
We're bleeding the hydraulic system on it, the power steering and the brakes and that type of stuff. That's what we're doing. That's why it's turning it back and forth. That's why we're turning it on and off. It's because it was sucking it down. That was a completely dry system, so we had to start from scratch. I think that thing has a clutch and I might have to replace it. It was kind of hit on this side of the car that it came out of. I wonder if it's working. I'm gonna check my voltage. I don't trust the gauge. It doesn't seem to be doing anything. It says it's charging, but I don't know if that's actually charging or not. I'm gonna go grab a voltmeter. puking stuff everywhere too.
Oh shit. The line?
It's leaking out of the massive booster itself. It's coming out of Hydroboost.
Yes.
I almost bought floor dry. I almost did. I was like looking at it. So those are like 17, I think. That's 11, 16. Oh, 17. Is it loose on there? No, it's the This wrench was loose?
Yes.
Yeah, I never had much problem with Hydroboost.
No, neither do I. I've never had a problem.
It was funny because when I was buying this, I was questioning whether I wanted to buy a new one or not because the reviews on it were like, oh, fucking thing didn't work after all that. Hopefully got my mind on it.
That's the only thing I can think of that can hold the pedal down. Is that an internal issue?
It wasn't doing it at first, and then all of a sudden it started doing that. At least I put a nice shelf in there for you.
Yeah.
So everything's good. We got a Hydroboost leak, and it's also sucking the pedal to the floor. I'm telling the camera.
Oh.
And then we have a transmission leak too, but it's really hot down there, so we're gonna address this one first. Okay, so the alternator didn't work, so we have to take it up and get a new one. It was questionable. I should have replaced it before we started. And then the brake booster, something happened with it. It wants to assist all the time instead of just when you're applying the brakes. So we're gonna go get a new one instead of trying to troubleshoot this one, just so that it works. So that's what we're doing now. So first start almost went pretty good, but not too bad. All right, guys, update. We got all through the first start. This is the next morning. So we were having issues with the alternator. So we swapped it out. Same issue arises, which is it's not charging. Then we discovered if you unplug the computer from the alternator, it charges just fine. You plug it back in, it stops charging. Well, that ends up being, Shane researched this last night, that ended up being because these engines, from the Tahoes and stuff, they're an on-demand charging system, so it's not going to charge unless it feels that the batteries have dropped, and then it will charge them back up. So it kind of lets the battery cycle a little bit, and that's why, and that actually saves your battery, believe it or not. That's especially in a really hot climate in the Arizona and stuff. That saves your battery, extends your battery life, because throwing a bunch of voltage when it's really hot out at a battery that doesn't need it is really hard on the battery, and so that's kind of why they do that. So and it's efficient. It's more efficient because you're not putting load on the engine that doesn't necessarily need to be there. If you haven't drawn the batteries down at all, there's no reason really to be charging them. It's just something that is normal normally. Like what I'm used to. It's just like, well, if the engine's running, it should be basically charging the battery at 14 volts. And so these don't do that. And these actually don't even charge at 14. They only charge at 13 point something, but up to 150 amps on this one. So, okay, so now the problem that we have to address, one, for some reason, the computer does not like my mass airflow sensor, so I may have damaged it or something throughout the process. When we were building the intake or something. I don't think I did, but it did end up being the right sensor. So I'm gonna have to get a new one and try it. It knows the sensor is bad before I even start it. It immediately throws the check engine light. I start it and it immediately is boom, check engine light, mass airflow. So, which tells me it's not something to do with airflow, it's something to do with the sensor itself, because it doesn't even give it enough time to realize that the airflow isn't accurate. So it's not like that. If it's like a drivability thing where it comes on every time I hit it at 3/4 throttle or something, that's going to be a different scenario, and that's when we're going to say, okay, like I have that sensor in a weird part of the air intake, so we need to address it. So that's not what's happening, but fuel system worked great. Everything worked great. I'm super stoked about this thing. So we are well on our way, but unfortunately we have a couple hurdles that we have to go over, and one of them's something I caused. The mass airflow sensor. We'll see if that's. I have a feeling we just got a bad sensor. And then the alternator, basically we were chasing a ghost. It's fine. The old alternator was also making really weird noises, and that was because there was a bunch of plastic inside of it. It was in an accident, and I think that alternator may have gotten hit, so it was kind of breaking apart. So it is what it is. So the transmission, it works so far as I can tell. It's going into all the gears. Everything is working that way. I do realize now that I have a transfer case leak somewhere. It looks like it's coming out of the drain plug. Well, that's dumb. I'm going to tighten that up, so that's dripping out right there. But the transmission itself isn't leaking at all, which is really cool, but it was leaking out, and I don't think I can even get it on video. Oh, maybe you can. The little brass plug there, right dead center of the screen, there's that brass plug. That thing wasn't tight enough. We had to tighten it. But that was the only leak we had in the transmission. Everything else seems to be staying pretty dry. For the most part. There's a lot of residual on there. I have to wipe it off still, but it doesn't appear to be leaking anymore after we tightened that plug. So, and it seems to go, it goes right into gear when I click it in gear. So so far everything seems to be good, and it obviously had pretty good line pressure because it was squirting out of that pressure plug in the back pretty good. So we knew it had line pressure when we did it. So all in all, everything's good. That was a lot to go over, but cooling system worked fantastic. Fan comes on and off. It's not even running the whole time, even when it's running inside in stagnant air. It was just cycling with the coolant level. So I didn't even have to adjust it. So that ended up being about perfect. I think it's set at 195. So yeah, that was perfect. We didn't get any of the burping or anything like you normally do when you're doing your first start on a new system, and I think that's 100% because of that steam line. That made it, I literally had to put maybe a quart of fluid in this morning after us running it all day this morning. It sucked this one dry, and it was maybe about a quart low. So I put about a quart in it, and then put this at about half, the reservoir at about half. And then after we cycle it a few more times, we'll check that level. But we should be within the level now to where everything's basically just completely full. So as everything heats up, if you have air in it, the air will come out the line here, the bypass, and it's going to go into the reservoir, and then any additional water will go into the reservoir as everything expands. And then when everything cools off, it's going to suck back out that same line, and so that's why that line is in at the bottom of the reservoir, and then it'll draw the fluid down. Well, if you don't have enough fluid in here, eventually it sucks air back in, so you end up with air back in here. It's all in the radiator right now, so I was able to top it off and then top this guy off again, but not all the way. I only filled it halfway because I have to let the expansion come so we don't puke. But it worked, and I actually put this hose in. That's an extension of my overflow. That's in case the overflow tank fills all the way, and put a pan under it. We didn't lose a drop. So we did this whole first start without losing a drop of coolant, which is pretty unheard of for me. Usually you always have a little bit of chaos with the cooling system burping about air bubble and stuff out. So this worked good, and again, I think that's 100% because of that steam line they put in. That allows the air to get out, so it doesn't create those hot spot, type situations that cause those burps and stuff. So pretty cool stuff. So Shane's on his way over. We're gonna start tackling this Hydroboost. We're gonna get that fixed, and then we're back rolling again. So solid motor though, really cool. I'm actually really glad I did this LT. I was questioning whether or not that was going to be the right call, and just by exhaust note alone and feeling the way this thing revs and stuff, it actually sounds like a hot motor. I'm recording just in case something chaotic happens. It's always fun to get chaos.
brake pressure too.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you again really soon. I'm going to end it with a sneak peek of the seats that got done on the car, and we got them installed just in time for the car show, just the front seats. They're going to have to come back out so we can finish our interior build, but that's all coming up next on Death Toll Racing, so stay tuned. We also have some really other types of projects coming up, and tracker build projects, sawmills, prepping type stuff, overlanding build on that Safari wagon, all sorts of cool stuff. Stay tuned. We'll see you again soon. All right, guys, here I am bolting them in record time. I have a pretty unique method on how I mount custom seats in cars. I thought it was on an earlier episode on this build, but I can't find it. I was going to put a link to it, but I can't find the video, and I know I did record it, but I apparently thought it was stupid and didn't put it on YouTube. So I will go over that at a later time, but I do have a pretty good way of doing that. It makes it super easy and clean to install seats, especially if you're going through carpet, which this car isn't going to be carpeted. It's going to be truck bed liner, epoxy bed liner on the inside. So anyway, thanks for watching. We're going to see you again really soon. I think the next video you're going to see is suicide door Lincoln Continental stuff. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you again soon.